That name is not familiar to me.
Um, Terry Bowerman.
She's awesome.
Yes, she is.
I think I worked with her a couple of times. I've heard she's fantastic. Other ones.
So I did some checking.
Did you? Oh, what did you find out? I'm so curious.
She had good things.
Really? Awesome. You don't wanna tell me anything about. Okay, cool. So, I have so many questions to ask you. But I just wanted to start and say, so you are actually the buyer,
I am.
right? Okay. And Justin, how are you in this mix?
I'm gonna be giving her some closing cost assistance.
You are so,
I am.
that's awesome. Thank you so much for that.
My little peanut.
So, a question about that then. So are you the only decision maker? Or are you both kind of gonna make the decision? Or how's that gonna work?
So, since this is the first time that I'm going through it, and my dad bought one house before, I'm gonna probably lean on him just for a little bit
Oh, sure.
of information.
Can you guys speak up just a little bit? Just a hair. Speak up for me.
I've lived here for 30 years, so I know a little bit about buying a house.
So you bought a house 30 years ago.
Yes.
So are you familiar with this time of real estate and what this looks like now in 2025?
Like, I don't know anything.
Okay.
I'm totally clueless.
Okay.
Yeah.
How about you, Justin?
I don't.
Cool. So I have a lot more questions to ask you. And I was just wondering if it was okay if I kind of ask you all those questions first, and then you guys come back and ask me a bunch of questions. And then at the end, I just have some other, housekeeping type things to go over and some documents and things like that. And I just kind of wanted to schedule it that way, if that's okay with you.
Sounds good.
That sounds wonderful.
Awesome. So I heard you're already pre-approved with a local vendor, which is a huge deal for us because this area, we like to work with people that we know and trust. And I know you're approved up to 300,000, but give me an idea of more like a monthly budget that you actually want and can afford. Because just because you're approved for $1 million doesn't mean that you want to actually pay for $1 million house, right?
Right.
So like, what is more comfortable for you? So that way I can do a search properly and.
I think she should stay around $1,000 a month.
Okay, what do you think?
So I know I'm approved up to 300, but I was just fooling around with some online, like mortgage payment for around, and I feel like I'm more comfortable around 275 would be the max.
Okay. So you live here with Justin now, and so do you have a bunch of savings in addition to dad's, down payment and assistance and things like that?
I have a little bit. Yeah, I have a little bit.
And then dad's kind of gonna come in and save the day with the rest of it, right?
I'll help her close the gap. I mean, if it's a really special property, we'll do it.
So tell me where we're looking to purchase.
Okay, so I really don't want to be, have neighbors right next to me, so I've been not looking for a townhouse. And, I prefer more of a neighborhood, but not with a really big backyard because it's just me, right? So I don't want to have to spend all the time doing yard work.
Okay,
And house styles, I just want to see them all. I don't know which one I want.
okay. So have you been looking online and seeing things that you like?
Completely obsessive online. Yeah, like looking at every home. I've been doing like for months leading up to this. So yeah,
So when you search, what price range are you searching in?
I'm looking anywhere like right around that 250 to 275.
Okay,
And of course, I'm seeing the ones over 275 too, that, you know, of course, the higher you go, the better the house, I guess, better condition.
Sure.
So, so somewhere in that ballpark.
Okay, I wanna go back to where.
Where, right, okay, so I'd like it to be in a neighborhood with anywhere from, let's just say the Maryland border up to New York.
Okay. Okay,
You think that's too big,
I'd like her to stay closer to me and
so you wanted the same neighborhood that we're in right now.
not necessarily that close, but New York,
So,
are you trying to get away from me?
well, you
But,
know,
I understand that different neighborhoods have different, kind of costs associated, like some are more demand than others. And some might be older homes and some might be younger. I'm worried about the maintenance that she's gonna have.
yeah, I think that's the biggest issue. I want
Somewhere
to
in New York County,
Okay, this is me, my house, Dad, not yours, right? Okay, so, maintenance is the biggest issue for me. Yeah, a low maintenance house. And, so, I mean, we can start New York and go, about an hour always.
okay, so that's a good thing because that's kind of my area of expertise. And so
Gotcha.
outside of more than an hour from York, like kind of where we're at right now, is not my area of expertise. So I would actually, kind of give somebody else an opportunity that outside of that area. So if you want to work with me specifically, I am all good within an hour of York. Outside of that, I would kind of talk to people and get you some help outside of it. Because I don't want to help you outside of that expertise area, because I never want to steer you wrong.
Okay.
I just want to make sure that I kind of know what's going on to help you with specifics.
So how long have you been selling real estate?
Actually, it's funny, this is one of the things I'm gonna leave for you, but this is actually my resume. That has a lot of information on there. Right now I'm at 6.5 years. I am a team lead. And our team is actually one of the top teams in Iron Valley real estate. And
heard of them.
oh my gosh, they are growing by leaps and bounds. We have so many offices in so many counties now. We're actually heading into Maryland, Delaware, and we're even gonna go to the West Coast. So you're gonna be, if you haven't heard of us, you're gonna soon.
It's great.
So we have so many agents that just love it. And we just love it. I love what I do, and so I have a bunch of stuff I'm gonna leave with you, so I'm gonna leave this with you also, so you can learn a little bit about me.
Okay.
I don't wanna tell you all about me while I'm here, it's about you.
Yeah, that makes sense.
May I?
Oh.
Thank you.
I have some more things I'm gonna get into, but I just have some more questions,
Okay.
so, okay, so do you think you wanted to stay within an hour of your dad and kind of like within an hour of your, okay?
Yeah, that'll work.
All right, cool. And then with your price range, you were talking that you did not necessarily want a townhouse or something attached. But you did want low maintenance.
Yes,
So in my experience, a lot of townhouses, or condos really, are a lot less maintenance
okay,
and specifically outside. So if you have a townhouse and you have a little bit of yard, then you don't have to take care of a whole lot, which kind of sounds like what you're looking for, but you kind of said you did not want to. Are you open? to
yeah, I think
something?
it would be open, I mean, yes, absolutely.
Okay, I just want to make sure that when I do a search for you, which I'm going to do, if you choose to work with me in the multiple listing service, is where everybody puts their listings in, for all the realtors to see.
And can we see any house, or is it just Iron Valley houses?
You can see any house,
Okay.
any brokerage at all. And when I put you into this MLS search, you will have my MLS access. You can see everything that's in there through my access. But what I do is I narrow it down for you according to your criteria. And so anything that I put in that pops up the next day, whether it's coming soon or it's live for you to see, you're gonna get an email every single morning that's gonna say, hey, look at this, it's new for you to see. And then if that pops up, then you know it's within your criteria that we talked about today.
So do I do the searching myself then, and then just reach back out to you if I see something, or do you reach out to me? How's that work?
That is something we're gonna talk about. So I know a lot of people like to use their apps, right? the Zillow, the Red, all those apps. And sometimes you see things on there that are not really, for sale. They're not even on the market and things like that. What happens is those particular sites scrape the MLS for information. It's not always real-time information. So if it's okay with you, if you find something on Zillow, because that's your favorite, right?
Well, it's his favorite. He calls me
Okay.
all the time.
Okay,
And it's always, you know,
So good.
gotta look at this house. Oh, this is a good one. And
that's perfect.
Yeah.
Because then he can send them to you and you can see if you like it first of all,
Okay.
right? And then you can put it into my MLS app, which I'm gonna send to
Okay.
you. And see if it is actually for sale and see if it has real information on there. And then what I ask you to do then is if you love it. My first thing is I need you to drive by it on your way to work, on your way home, like sometime drive by the house, because you never know what the surroundings look like until you drive by and you see for yourself, because it might have a junkyard over here,
Yeah.
or the neighbors might look a certain way that you don't want it to look and things like that. So that's crucial for me to help you to make sure that we are choosing the right houses to look at.
how long do you think it's gonna take me to find a house?
It could be the first house we see, and it could be 3 years later. I've done everything in between.
Okay.
When you find it, you will know, I promise you that. So as soon as
Okay.
you walk in, you will know when we're looking around if it's for you or not. You just
Okay.
get a feeling, and I know it's kind of woo-woo, Dad, but it's true. When you walk in, she will know once she walks in the house.
I can appreciate that, but you know, whenever it does click for her and that lightning bolt strikes, I want her to get it. You know, so are you able to, you know, get her that deal? Are you a strong negotiator?
I am, it's in my resume, if you read that, it's one of
I
the
see
things that's in there. I cannot promise you that I will get you that exact house. I can't make that promise 100%, but I will promise you that I will do everything in my power to help you get that house. I will, you know,
And I guess my biggest fear is overpaying right now on this one. I'm really,
so
yeah,
what's really nice is you have an FHA loan, so there's no way that you can overpay for a house. So when we put an offer in, your loan officer will send an appraiser out to the house. And this appraiser is an independent party that will say, hey, this is what this house is worth, no matter what you offer, and that's what you will pay for this house. It
Gotcha.
might take some negotiating and some things like that, which I'm used to doing. Your
Right.
dad is all about negotiating, right? And so you will not overpay
okay,
because of that appraiser.
that's good to know.
That's a good thing to have.
So I've heard a lot about multiple offer situations. Can you explain how you would advise me?
There are many different things that go into a good deal. It's not just the list price, not just the asking price, but there are many other things. There are inspections to go through. There are inspections that you can choose. There is, other little nuances in offers that you can put in that make you ahead of other offers. For instance, you probably don't know that there's a transfer tax in Pennsylvania, that the buyer usually pays 1% and the seller usually pays 1% of the transfer tax. And sometimes you can offer to pay that seller's side of the transfer tax and save the seller that money. And that will put you sometimes ahead of an offer that is exactly the same as yours,
Okay,
and that will benefit the seller and win. That's just one of the little nuances that I have up my sleeve that I can help you out, trying to get.
awesome. Thank you.
Yeah,
And that- he's an
okay,
absolute nut.
so, let's see, is there a particular time frame that we have? I know you look at that, but is there a certain time frame we would work in, or are we good, like, kind of went over?
We're good.
Okay, if we find that house and you walk in and you love it, what do we do?
We write an offer.
Okay, I just wanna know your mindset when you walk in.
Well, I have to,
ready
of course. I probably have to do another showing or something to have Dad walk through the house if he's not there with me.
Okay, so kind of the way I just kind of talked about a little bit. So if you find something you like, or he sends, we look on the MLS, make sure it's all, you know, it's for sale and all that good stuff. And then you guys, or one of you is gonna drive by it first, yeah? And then if you want him to help you make the decision, I know you're the decision maker, right?
Yeah.
So if you want him, and we're gonna go see a house, you gotta bring him with you, so we need to schedule around him too. Cause if he's gonna help you make that decision and he needs to be there to see it, then he needs to come with you.
Wait, didn't you want to say something? You talked to me about inspections or something like that.
Yes, home inspection.
Yeah.
We need to get you a home inspection.
Everybody should have a home inspection,
Okay.
everybody.
And am I able to do that in this market?
You are able to do a home inspection no matter what, in any market.
And I'm pretty good at that. I mean, I can do it, right?
I mean, if she wants you to do an inspection, you absolutely can.
Alright. Okay.
So one thing about inspections is there are many, many, many to choose from. And on the agreement of sale, we will go over all those inspections and you
Okay.
will choose which ones you want in this agreement of sale, in this offer.
Okay.
In a multiple offer scenario, one thing I will say to you is that the less inspections you put on this offer, the better your offer looks to the seller.
Okay.
So if we have two identical offers and one has an inspection and one does not, which one do you think the seller's gonna pick?
Yeah, the one that doesn't.
Right. So I would never tell a client not to get an inspection.
So that's my choice.
That is your choice, and you can choose who you want to do the inspection as well.
So he can't do the inspection. It's- Nobody's doing, I mean, he tinkers around.
You can
little
do
bit.
an inspection, but what I will say about that is if you choose to do an inspection on an agreement of sale, and you have somebody that is not a licensed inspector,
Yeah.
right? And then you go to ask for something to be done by the sellers, and you don't have a licensed inspector and to be able to show like the whole inspection, they're probably not gonna do anything. So it is a good idea to get a licensed inspector, but your dad can, kind of do what he does and see if he sees anything. One thing I will tell you also, if he's not able to be there, when I show you the house, I want you to just look at the house and love the house and go through and, see what you think about it. I actually am a little bit different than some other agents and I point things out to you that I think might be a red flag.
Oh,
And that
that's good.
may need to be seen or checked out or whatever.
That's great, because I'm just gonna be excited
I
about the
know,
house.
I know, you're not supposed to be looking for that text. So if your dad's there, Dad, I'm gonna put you in charge of that, because you said you could do an inspection. So
Sure,
I want you to put your inspector goggles on, and I want you to check that stuff.
great. And we'll do that before we put in the offer?
Correct,
Okay.
correct. And so that way, if there are too many red flags, I have vetoed a house.
Okay.
So I look through a house and I see too many red flags here and there, that just something doesn't look right. You and I will have a discussion, and sometimes I will say, look, I don't want you to buy this. Okay. Because I've seen too many things that are not gonna be okay. So I hope that's okay with you. That's just kind of how I do things.
Yeah, it sounds good.
Okay. So I'm gonna pretend I asked you a lot more questions.
Okay.
Okay, so, now that I've asked all my questions, I'm gonna set you up on a search in the MLS. You're gonna get an email every day that something pops up in your criteria. I'm also gonna send you an invitation to my app, which is directly linked to the MLS, and you can send me properties through that.
Nice.
So when you send me a property through that, I'm gonna say, hey, did you drive by? Just to make sure. Yes, cool, it's fine. Great, we're gonna go see it, make sure Dad can come. And that's how we're gonna move forward if you so choose.
Okay, so, and I've watched, I've heard about the real estate industry changing a little bit, about commissions, and so I don't know how that works as a buyer.
That's okay. We're gonna get to that in just
Okay.
a few minutes. Because we have all this straightened out, the next thing on the agenda is for you to ask me a bunch of questions.
Okay.
And so I just wanted to make sure that, you wanted to start where you wanted to start with questions, for me. And is that the first question you have?
Sure, yeah, I mean, that's, I'm concerned about that, about.
Of course.
Right, so
Absolutely.
how do we deal with that?
So do you know how we get paid as realtors? By any chance?
It's free.
What's free?
We don't have to pay for your services as a buyer. When I bought this house,
That's true.
I used my friend Chuck. And that's how it was done.
Okay.
Seller paid for that,
So,
which is why this worked.
so the way, I charge 3%
Wait a minute,
sale price. I'm just gonna explain it all, if that's okay with you, and then,
Sure.
let me explain it, and then you can ask any questions you want.
You're
to ask.
embarrassing
Okay.
me.
Okay. So, I charge 3% of the sale price of the house. I get paid at settlement. So I don't get paid anything until we settle. And, I'm gonna show you this in just a minute, this contract here. It kind of has everything on the bottom. In addition to that 3%, there's also a $795 broker fee, which
What's
goes,
that?
that goes to Iron Valley. Iron Valley is my broker, and it kind of takes care of all the admin fees. So like, I have this amazing assistant, and he's in the background making sure everything is legally sound. And we also have another admin as well. So I have like 2 checkers that make sure that all of us are completely covered legally. We have all of our I's dotted, T's crossed, and believe me, that's what we want. We don't want to get sued by anybody, so that's what that broker fee is for.
Okay,
The 3% of commission that I get though can be paid multiple different ways. So like Justin just said, like the seller might offer to pay me 3%.
okay, let's hope that happens
Yeah.
that way.
Oh my gosh, yeah. So, but let's just say the seller or, let's say the seller offers to pay me 2%.
Okay,
Then you would be responsible for paying that extra 1% at closing. That would come in addition to the rest of your closing costs. And so what I do is when we go to see a house, I call the agent and I ask them if the seller is willing to pay me any commission. They say yes or no, and then I say how much. And so when we go to see, before we go to see this house, I'm gonna tell you, hey, good thing, they're paying me 2.5%. And then when we get there, we see the house, if you like it, I send your loan officer a message, say, hey, can you send us a cost sheet on this house using this price? And then if I have to add on like 0.5% for my commission, they put that on your cost sheet as well, so you can see everything in writing, how much it's gonna be to make sure that's okay with you.
so is your fee negotiable?
It is, yes. Um. So it is negotiable.
I was just wondering if we got down to the wire, like if I'm max bidding on a house and we exhausted our funds, I was just wondering.
We can always have a conversation. I'm open
Okay.
to any conversation, like, always.
Okay.
Always. I want an open line of communication. Always.
Okay,
Is that cool?
yes,
Okay. So, since we're on that subject, if it's okay, I just want to go over one other thing. If you choose to work with me, we have something called an exclusive buyer agency contract. So basically, it's a contract between the 2 of us. And it says that I'm your agent and I work for you. And it also explains how I get paid. It has, dates on here. It just basically it's between the 2 of us. If at any time, either one of us want to get out of this contract for any reason, all you have to do is let me know. And I will have my broker sign off on it and no love lost, and we'll just part ways if any.
why would people do that?
Some people, let's say they have a friend, right, that pops up out of nowhere. Oh my gosh, I need to work with them now, or something like that, you know? But I'm hoping that we have a good rapport and that you like working with me and that doesn't happen.
I feel comfortable already with you.
It does happen the other way as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
So, you know, while you invited me over, you know, to meet with you
Yeah.
guys, I will say this to you right now. I would love to work with you. I think you're fantastic.
We appreciate it.
But sometimes, things happen and maybe I'm not able to work with you anymore. And so sometimes I might have to refer you out. God forbid if I have an accident or something like that, you know, this may have to change or something. like that.
Okay,
So that's just kind of what, you know, why I wanted to, or sometimes I might go over to somebody's house and we have this conversation and we just don't have the same work ethic or ethics or beliefs or things like that.
it's just not
And it's
driving.
just right. And
Yeah.
like, you don't like me, I don't like you, and then.
I already
it's
like you.
okay.
I can already say I like it.
It's okay, you know, it's just, you know, it's always, I just want to let you know.
Okay,
we're not stuck.
okay.
Yeah.
That's good.
There's also something here that, we will sign that is a consumer notice. This is not a contract, however, it's kind of like a HIPAA for real estate sort of.
Oh,
So like, it basically says on here, I'm your buyer agent, and it kind of gives you an idea of what I do, for you. And if you give me permission, I will discuss things with your dad,
Okay.
but really, the 2 of us have a confidentiality thing with this. And so if you give me permission, I can discuss things outside of here with other people, other than your loan officer, of course, because, you know, you've already given him permission to talk to me at that point. But really, if your dad calls me otherwise, you know, and ask me a bunch of questions, I'm not gonna give him any information unless you tell me.
That's good, yeah, because sometimes you can be a little bit.
Yeah, so you're basically, you know, you're the boss and that's that. What other questions do you have for me?
I have a question. So what happens if one of the houses that I really like is your listing? Like, who do you
my gosh,
represent?
yeah.
Like,
So,
how's it
yeah,
happen?
so, I started 6.5 years ago and I have never done a dual agent, which is kind of what you're talking about. If I have a listing for sale that you want to buy, I will refer you to somebody else at Iron Valley, probably on my team. Or, you know, somebody else. I do not dual agent. I have a moral dilemma with that. And so I can't, in just a personal thing for me, like I can't represent you and then also represent the seller and vice versa. I have to work for one and concentrate on you.
Can you work for the buyer and not the seller? How's that work?
No, unfortunately, if I have a listing, then I'm gonna have to refer you out to somebody on my team. But what I will tell you is my team, I will refer you out to somebody else
Okay, sounds good.
that I think you would work best with.
Okay,
Cause I know a lot of agents at Iron Valley specifically that are amazing and you
Okay.
do a great job.
awesome.
Yeah. What else?
Any questions that you have?
How much is this gonna cost? I mean, what are,
She said
Closing.
3%.
no, closing costs?
Oh,
Okay,
yeah.
So it depends on the house, but what I will say also is I'm a house girl, right? I'm your home girl. Like I'm all about the house and everything has to do with the house and finding the house, okay? When it comes to the money part,
My God.
Micah
Yeah.
is the money man. That's what I call him, the money man,
Okay.
okay? So he's in charge of all the money to give you to buy this house.
Okay.
So when it comes to financial questions, I may or may not know the answer, but I don't want to give you any wrong answers. So I'm gonna say to you, hey, Christy, that's a question for Micah.
Okay,
And then I would ask you to contact him.
okay,
He is gonna give you all the information that you need. If you like a house, he will do a full call sheet on all of the things. But I really want you to reach out to him for all the money questions, so that way I don't give you wrong information.
okay. You come, that sounds good.
Yeah, that's fine. That's good.
Okay.
Yeah. I trust Micah.
Good, okay, good. What else, what other questions do you have?
Like, when can we get this started? When?
Girl, I'm ready whenever you are. All you have
Okay.
to do is sign some paperwork and I set everything up and we are good to go.
Okay, so
When are we seeing homes?
well, as soon as we choose, you know, we've got someone else coming over. We are interviewing, buyer
Yeah, like-
agents.
If we do a drive-by and I just like pull into the driveway, can I wait for you? Or like, how much notice are we talking?
So we just went over how it works, right? And so I'm gonna let her explain that to you again.
Listen,
Like, how much?
I'll call you and tell you when I need you.
Okay.
Yeah, I would leave it like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I understand.
Absolutely.
I know you don't, but it'll be okay.
So I'm gonna leave this with you as well. This is
Okay.
our buyer packet. And I have a card for you on there. I also have a card for your dad.
Oh, that's great.
So that
I'll
way he
call
can keep it as well, in case you have any questions. This is a really awesome packet. The first page of the packet is actually everything that I do for you as a buyer agent. It's all laid out.
Oh,
So if you have any other questions, this is amazing. And there's also common term, because I might talk in realtor
lingo.
lingo and Micah as well. And you might be like, what is she talking about? Well, a lot of it's in here.
Okay, that's
And
good.
that too, you can take a look at this, but there's a lot more in here. This is my favorite. I would hang this on your refrigerator. This is the home buying process from start to finish, and we are actually right here.
Okay,
And so once you choose who you're gonna work with, you've actually already done this, which is fantastic. So you're already way ahead of the curve. And then this is where we start to search for houses. So you can keep
Okay.
track of the process, as we go on. And, so I want you to kind of look over this when you have some time tonight. And so I know you said you're interviewing another agent. I'm gonna actually give you this, contract and a consumer notice to keep as well, so you can read over that, so you know, what you're gonna be signing and what it looks like, and read through it. Let Dad read through it as well.
Yeah, we're not signing anything.
Of course.
Okay.
Once you choose an agent, though, you will have to sign something. It's a thing. And that's how I run my business, and it's very important to me. I know it's important to you to find a house. It's a lot of money, you know, and So I just wanna make sure we're all protected, we're all doing the right thing in the right way, and I wanna make sure you know what you're signing.
He's always looking for the shortcut, always.
We don't do shortcuts here, Justin. My broker is like hard.
Yeah.
He's rough,
Good.
he's rough.
Good.
What questions do you have for me that I can help you choose to be your agent?
Once we go under contract. Once we find a house. Then what are the steps?
It's actually in, what I just gave her, so the
Okay.
whole process is in there, but once you're under contract, everything on the back end is taken care of you as far as paperwork, taking care of our paperwork and all of the things, we take care of all that. So if you choose to get an inspection, we have to set those up. There is a deposit that we call an earnest money deposit. And so within 5 days that we're under contract, I will send you a little note that we need a check made out to a certain brokerage for a certain amount of money that we talk about during.
Are you gonna cash that check? Cause I'm gonna have to move
Yes.
money.
Yeah, so the brokerage that you write it out to is gonna like cash it and keep it in their escrow account. And what's cool though, is you get that back at closing,
Okay.
towards your closing costs.
Oh,
So-
it doesn't come off the price of the home.
No.
Okay,
No, it comes off your closing
Okay.
costs at closing. So you do get the money back. They don't keep that and run with it. So you do get that back at closing. Um, so, we have the EMD. And then the inspections, if you want any of those. If you don't want any of those, then the next thing that actually happens is your loan officer will schedule an appraisal. Remember we talked about that a little bit earlier?
Yes.
So an appraiser goes out and then they come back about a week or two later and they say, this is how much the house is worth.
okay.
And then we kind of figure things out from there. If the appraisal comes back and it's more than what you've offered,
Yeah,
you already have instant equity in the house. So
That's what
that
I'm
means we did
talking about.
really cool. We did
Yeah.
awesome. If it comes back less, however, then we might have to renegotiate some things. So before we put in an offer, we will kind of talk about something called an appraisal gap. And maybe kind of talk to your dad about that too, helping you out with some things.
okay.
So those are like the first initial things to worry about. But I will tell you that every step of the process, I will be there with you every step of the way. And,
Okay.
you know, and you don't have to worry about any of the back end stuff. It just happens. Not you even.
So
know
you're just gonna
it's
tell me what to do
Yes,
and I'm gonna
ma'am.
do it.
Absolutely.
Very
I can
good.
do that.
Dad, what you got for me?
That's it.
That's it?
That's it.
That's all?
That's all.
Are you ready to sign?
I'm not signing anything. Very good.
Thanks for coming over
Oh, gosh, of
and.
course.
and
When
spending
should I
time.
hear from?
Probably later on this evening, 'cause we
Oh.
wanna start this process really.
Cool. Can I call you or text later? Just to see-
Yeah,
Yes. What do you? prefer?
yeah, you can reach out to me later on this evening.
Okay.
That'd be fine.
It was so nice meeting you.
So nice meeting you.
I hope you get to work.
Thank
together.
you.
I'm so excited.
Very nice to meet you.
Yeah. That's it. I forgot half of the things that I was gonna say.
Great job, Jed.
You're under pressure. The dad's always spoiled.
But
Where'd Simon run away to?
He's in the back.
Oh, okay, well, you guys have a minute before your next appointment arrives. He's
I know.
preparing.
That was,
What do you think about
I
it?
saw you writing notes.
Yeah,
Hit me with the notes.
um,
What did I do wrong?
Oh,
you really want to know?
Yeah, I do. I need to know.
I really liked how you told dad he could do an inspection,
Mhm.
but he can't do an inspection after it goes under contract. He can walk around the house, but, you kind of made him think he was doing an inspection. That's pretty clever.
It's happened so many times. I can't even tell you.
Yeah, Daddy, the deal killer, will come in there and say, what's that spot? But,
And I like putting them in charge.
that's,
So when we go in the house, I put them in charge of something like that.
Yeah.
So that way he has something to do and look.
you need to
around.
go check the faucets outside.
Yeah,
And that's-
like the toilet,
Right,
like all the things, yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
how's
I-
lawn?
I do that for real, in real life.
That's a good,
yeah,
good tactic.
Everything that I've said is, this is how.
yeah, I thought it was good.
And good not to get too far into the weeds with dad because he'll pull you down.
That's why I always go back to them and explain that you're my client, you signed this, like confidential, like, and then when you ask that, I'm like, we'll let you tell her that.
Before Simon gets here, I made that mistake, right? I showed daughter and husband a house. Dad flies in from Texas and comes and checks it out and just blows holes all through it, saying 140 for this, you should see what we could get in Texas for 110, and this thing doesn't even have new windows. And she was convinced by dad to renege on their offer. So they pulled their offer after it was accepted. So super smart and spunky agent says to the husband, whenever he calls, hey, we found another house that we want to see, or I sent them something, yeah, let's go check that one out. I forget exactly how it broke down. I said, well, is your father-in-law coming? Because he's obviously making the decisions. I had to backpedal on that for about 2 weeks. I had to really kiss some serious butt because I had overstepped my bounds as an agent when it came to that relationship. So
One
that's,
of the things I always ask is, who's the decision maker? Like, who's making the decision? Like, is it you? And you don't have any kids, so like, if they do have kids, though, one thing I do say, and Patty can tell you to do this, I ask them if their kids are gonna be there. And if they're gonna help you make a decision, and I'm not kidding when I say that, because sometimes you guys probably know, like, kids will be like, I hate this, I don't like this, I don't, and like, they've made a decision somehow. And so I talk to the parents about maybe finding a babysitter when we go on showings and things like that, because they get distracted and all the things, and like how much, so it's a really good discussion about the children. About who's making this decision
You're personalizing.
and how,
Yeah.
yeah,
and then one, contract critique,
yeah.
order the appraisal without delay. You
Without
can't,
what?
without delay. You can't wait till after the inspections to order the appraisal.
Did I say that?
You said if the appraisal, or if there's no inspections, we'll order the appraisal.
Oh, that's not right.
I just, but me as a lay person,
Sorry.
I misunderstood.
Sorry. I just meant those are the first two things that happen.
Oh, right.
I said the loan officer will actually order the appraisal, so I just,
And there will
That's
be
not what I'm-
inspections for my peanut.
Great job. Ted.
Thank you.
Next up.
I just,
It must be Simon. Yes,
Nice to meet you.
nice to meet you. Come on in. My dad's here. Well, this is my dad's house. where I
Nice to
live,
meet
but
you.
this is my
Another
son.
Iron Valley agent. That's 2 in 1 day.
That's right.
Wow.
You guys are interviewing the best.
Like how you're repping the brand. That's good.
Thank you. Well, thank you all for taking the time to interview and meet with me. So I'm sure you have a lot of questions and I have a ton of information to share with you, but I always like to start just to find out what brought us to this moment here. How did you come here being ready to buy a home?
In all honesty, I need my own privacy. I
Okay.
love you, Dad, but like, I can't,
That's
It's
awesome that
time.
you guys here. Okay.
yes, yeah. Yeah, so it's time. It's
Where
time
else
for
would
me
it be?
to move to that.
Okay. Well, like I said, there's a lot of information to cover. What's really helpful for me is just to get an idea of what you might be looking for in a home.
So I'm looking for a house that, doesn't have a big yard. And I really don't know what style, so I'll look at them all.
Okay.
And, I'm looking somewhere right around the York area within about an hour.
Okay, great.
Yeah, I mean, I've been searching for homes online.
Sure.
Trust me, I've been, all over it. He sends me stuff. But I haven't been inside any homes. Okay, a couple open houses I've gone to.
Okay, so like pretty broad area. If you could narrow down what's the most important to you to find a home, what would those things be? Like your must-haves.
I need a garage.
Okay.
I need a garage because he only has a carport, and he always puts his in. So I need a garage and central air.
Okay, yeah, sure.
And I would like to have, 2 baths are definite.
Okay, is 1.5 bath okay, or definitely 2?
Half would work.
Okay,
If it would, 1.5 would work.
Solid home.
It's-
solid.
Solid.
Okay,
Something easy to maintain.
Yeah, I don't want to fix her upper.
understood. Okay. Anything else that stands out? Is there, You said anywhere within an hour of York, so obviously.
Yeah, I don't have kids, so school district doesn't mean anything, so to me, it's just my first home, I just want a solid house that I'm not gonna have to, work on leaky faucets and, that kind of stuff.
Okay. And the other question I have is what would be important to you in the realtor that you choose to hire? Like, what would your expectations?
So I would want someone who can be there when I call, can
Okay.
show me houses when I'm ready. And someone who can negotiate me a good deal
Okay,
and that knows the values, of homes. So you
Sure.
can sort of lead me, because I have no idea what I'm doing.
okay, and that would be my role for sure. What about that? What's important for your daughter to?
Thanks
with
for
the realtor
asking.
Who represents her?
I just want her to be protected. I just want this to go well and, to know, what steps to take.
Okay. And that's certainly like the number one responsibility of a realtor is to protect all kinds of aspects in the purchase.
Yeah, because I've heard about night.
Cause I could do this myself.
Right,
But
Dad, you can't, you don't know what you're talking about. Just ignore him.
Well, before I jump into some other questions that have to do with financing and things like that, did you get the consumer notice that I emailed to you last night?
I did, but I didn't sign it
That's
because, okay,
I just want to make sure I cover that, and this is definitely, as that you can see, it's not a contract. This
Good.
is a form we are required to review whenever we first speak with anybody. So just lets you know that realtors could represent if you're listing a home, buying one. Dual agency would be if I represent both parties in a transaction, which I don't do. Designated agency would be maybe somebody from with Iron Valley would have the listing and I bring you as a buyer, but the broker's still responsible for all parties. Transaction licensee would be, let's say you're gonna buy the home next to dad and you call and say, I don't need you to do anything else except handle paperwork. And then there's a list of everything that's we're required to do, confidentiality, have your best financial interest at heart. And there's things that are negotiable, such as fees, commissions, how to be represented, and how long to be represented.
what do you charge?
I do.
What is that? What do you charge?
Our commission is 3% for representation.
And
And
is that negotiable?
certainly, everything is negotiable. The way I operate my business, because I am self-employed, even though I'm a realtor, is that 3% is what it would cost to have me represent.
I thought the seller pays that.
In a lot of instances, yes, it's ultimately the buyer's responsibility. Most transactions, most buyers I represent, commissions offered by the listing brokerage, and that works out very well.
we want to go ahead and have them pay it then.
Okay.
Yeah.
I would love that as well. I totally agree. That'd be great. But just to be totally upfront, in instances where it's not covered, the buyer does make up the difference, or all of it.
So in addition to the closing costs, 3% also, that's a lot of, well, he's gonna be helping out,
Okay,
so.
sure, and I'm happy to go into that more detail. If you want to discuss that further now, we totally can.
Well, how much is this gonna cost? I mean, all in?
So you're looking at like $300,000, I believe,
Yeah.
roughly, and you're using an FHA loan?
Yes,
Okay. So did your lender go over closing costs with you and potential monthly payment?
Not with me.
Okay,
he did, well, he did, he
Oh,
went over everything, but he didn't go over your fees, cause I didn't pick a realtor yet, so I don't know, so none of that was included.
so super rough estimate, let's say you're buying a home at 300,000 with FHA. You have 3.5% down, there's 1% transfer tax, there's help, or your homeowner's insurance, inspections, tax prorations, all kinds of stuff, which we'll certainly cover in more detail. You would look maybe around like 25,000.
Oh.
Don't hold me to that.
Is there a certain like percent that you go by, like, is there like a little cheat? That's like,
Not that's reliable because it depends on the taxes of the home. It depends on if there's commission costs, who's paying transfer tax and things like that.
okay,
But that would be a good budget to have as far as how much you should have saved up. There are other options and there's always PHFA, which you can discuss with your lender or asking the seller to come cover some of your closing costs.
okay,
We'd like to do that.
yeah,
Absolutely. And the other part of this is there is a real estate recovery fund. So if you felt harmed financially from somebody licensed, you can contact them. And any legal questions, always be sure to consult an attorney.
okay,
And if you don't mind, this, again, not a contract, I just need you to sign this acknowledging that I did review this with you, please.
okay. Are you okay with me signing? What do you think?
I'll sign it.
No, it's
If
not.
you're on the loan and the deed, I would definitely need you to sign as well, please.
Oh. Okay. You are, I need to buy a house, sign
I
your,
might on the deed.
That's it. If you sign, that's totally fine.
do you wanna sign?
Okay, so. What questions do you have for me?
How long have you been doing this?
Been licensed for 8 years. And I am full-time.
What do you think your biggest strength is as a realtor?
I would say navigating through any kind of scenario that comes up. You kind of have to think on your feet in real estate. There's all kinds of issues that can come along with inspections, appraisals, negotiating offers, writing the best offer, and at the same time representing your interests.
Yeah.
That's the most important responsibility of a realtor. And I have a lot of experience in doing that.
So like, what's your worst experience that you've ever like gone through during this process? Cause I'm nervous. I'm really nervous about the whole thing.
The worst was the one and only time when I was newly licensed that I did dual agency. And the seller was fired about an hour before closing, and they could no longer purchase the home they were getting. And he was a little off his rocker, and I had a friend who was buying the house, who insisted I represent them. They wouldn't let me refer them out, and the seller came down the stairs with a sword and threatened him.
Whoa.
Like to see him
Don't
try it.
even think about this.
Right.
Don't even think about
So
it.
that's the worst.
Okay. Okay.
Oh, that's pretty bad.
There's
Yeah.
a lot of things that happen behind the scenes that realtors are responsible for, but this should be a fun experience for you and enjoyable. We navigate all that, so you can just have a smooth ride from start to finish.
How long is this all gonna take?
It depends. It could take as long as it might take to find the right home. The market is competitive right now, but not as insane as it's been the last few years. And then once you're under contract on a home, settlement could be anywhere from 30 to 60 days, depending on what the seller's needs might be, what your timing looks like. How soon do you need to move? Do you have a lease?
I wanna start right away.
Okay.
Yeah, wanna start right away.
What's competitive? Tell me what's that look?
Sure. If you don't mind, I can answer that with two parts. The first is whenever we start looking at homes, the first home I'm gonna see, we're gonna pretend that you love it. Like, this is the best home I've ever seen. I wanna write an offer, and I'm gonna bring a contract along with it. So I say, we're pretending that you love this home. This is exactly what it looks like to write an offer. And I can cover every aspect of what a contract looks like. Because when you truly do find the right home, all you're thinking about is, Simon, better get this house. I need this house. And I wanna make sure you know exactly what you're signing and getting into.
Oh, that's
And then-
interesting.
What we'll do is, we'll also go over it as if you were in competing offers, this is an aspect that we could adjust here.
Yeah, I've heard that's happening.
It
And
is.
so it's concerning.
And Dad, to directly answer your question, there are homes in certain areas and price points where you might have multiple offers or an offer deadline, and people are throwing everything they possibly can at a property. And that's where I go to you and say, these are your options to make your strongest offer. What are you okay with? And once we see a home, I can go back and I look at comparable sales and say, if I was hired to list this home, what would I have suggested as a listing price? And that gives you a baseline of, this is where my realtor says the market value is. Do I want to go higher? Do I love the home that much? And we can start backing things up from there.
Okay, I wanna go back to the 3%.
Sure.
So how are we gonna do that? So how
I guess,
often,
I mean,
what are the chances are that the seller's gonna pay for it?
Based on the percentages of people I've represented, it's
Yes.
highly likely.
Okay,
I can't think of any scenario where I had a buyer pay full 3% commission. There was typically, even for sale by owner situations, there was compensation offered. But as far as just being as honest as possible so you can plan, if you're 300,000 out of budget, 9,000 is being the absolute max you would have to spend. But I've
is that
never-
set in stone? That's set in stone.
It's not fixed or set to where we have to charge that, but that's with my experience and how I run my business, that's what I do charge.
okay.
And I would never let commission pull you up from buying a home, and that's never happened. I know that sounds kind of vague and sort of like a sales pitch, but,
Yeah, what's that mean? What do you mean?
well, let's say you see a home and it's at the absolute top of your budget, right? And you're like, okay, my closing costs are maxed out. We write the offer, we ask for 3%, and the listing agent comes back and says, best I can do is 2.5. And if you truly do not have the other 1,500, we'd have to work that. And If you can show this is the absolute max money I'm bringing, then we would find some way to negotiate that together.
See, I like this guy.
Um, What about home inspections?
I'm for them. They're
Me
good.
too.
Do you come to the home inspection with me? Like, what if I can't go?
I'll
Like,
be
if
there.
Dor-
It's great to schedule when you can be there, because it's almost like getting a book report on your house. The inspector's job is to make sure that the home is safe.
Wait, you did say you're going to be there too?
I typically show up towards the end, because they can be about 2.5, 3 hours, and I want you to have that time directly with the inspectors to take you through the home. And they'll point out little things like maintenance, caulking, here's an outlet that might need to be looked at, here's some general suggestions. But if there's major things that pop up, I want to be able to see those in person as well, so I can give the best advice on how we negotiate the inspection. So yes, I would absolutely be there. But I.
So we'll all go?
So only,
I'll pick you up. And we'll go.
it shouldn't be an issue for you to attend, but only the clients named on the agreement of sale are permitted to attend based on the contract. So we would have to notify the listing agent that the buyer wants her dad to come along. Shouldn't be an issue, but they could say, no, I'm sorry, only the inspector, the client, and their realtor may come. I know.
Okay, well, I'll let you come. You know that. Okay.
Are you gonna come looking at homes as well to help make sure the home's safe and keep an eye out for things for your daughter?
Of course.
Great. That's awesome to have that support too.
Yeah, he's a great dad.
Okay, so obviously we're interviewing each other to decide if we would be a good fit to work together. What else is important to you and what questions do you have?
So I asked you, did I ask you about what your strengths are?
Yes.
Okay. Do you have any other questions? Or what's the toughest part of your job? Like, what, like, literally, what's the toughest part of your job?
Literally, it's time management. Because I want to make sure that anybody who hires me to represent them, I'm doing the best job I can and making sure that things are done properly and following deadlines and everything that comes with that.
How many people are you working with right now? How many buyers?
How many buyers? I have quite a few buyers who've signed contracts we represent as far as like, let's go, the home hit the market, I want to write an offer, I would say 4.
Okay,
How much notice do you need to show homes to us?
It all depends. If- let's say you saw the perfect home and you're both free and you're like, Simon, I need to get into this right now. I know it's gonna be a bidding war. I wanna be the first offer. And maybe I'm coaching my son's soccer team. I would say, I personally can't meet you, but there are a ton of realtors at Iron Valley that I've networked with who are wonderful. They can meet you and walk you through their property, and then when I have some time later, I will go back through and take a look as well.
But you're saying you won't let your schedule be an obstacle to our success.
Absolutely not. And I think that's what I would expect if I hired a realtor, so I wanna make sure I offer the same thing.
yeah, I just don't wanna be pressured. I don't wanna be pressured that,
That's important to mention as well. So if you need to look at one home and that's the greatest home you've ever seen, that's fine. If you need to look at 20 or 30, at that point, we're probably missing something, but please don't ever feel as though there's a rush or a pressure or a time frame of mine. The contract that we have for representation expires after a year. But as far as like being talked into a home, that's never going to happen.
so we're in a contract for a year if I choose to work with you?
That's the longest that a contract for representation can be in house. Well, that's not true, because they actually have a new form out, where we could, when you pick the first home to go check out, it's called a non-exclusive buyer's agency. So you would say, we're still deciding if we're a good fit to work together. You can represent me just for this home we're gonna go see. And I'm okay doing that for the first showing because, I know it's a big decision. But after that, moving forward, then it would be, okay, you're officially our realtor for any home we buy in Pennsylvania.
And how am I gonna find homes? Do you send it to me or am I looking for the house?
So,
I'll look.
I know that everybody looks on Zillow and all the other websites constantly, and that's great because you'll probably see the home before I do. What I do is once I have all the information we covered today, I'll set up what's called a hot sheet. And I can click that every day. And I usually do it right before the end of the day. And any new home that pops up, I'm gonna filter through. And if it matches the payment you want and everything you told me that's important, I'll send it over to you. And then if anything, you're like, oh, this is perfect. As soon as you want to see a home, you just send me a message and I schedule.
Good.
So as far as the other questions I have for finding the right home for you, what do you want in a monthly payment?
So I'd like it to be somewhere right around 1,600.
Okay. And is your interest rate around like what, 6.25? Is that what the lender said?
It's actually 5.75 today.
No, it's
Fidelis really gives great rates.
Good news.
Yeah.
Okay, so at 300, let's say taxes are around 4,500.
Mhm.
You're with mortgage insurance that you have with FHA, you're probably around like 2,400.
Oh,
So we would have to back that out and look and see what brings that to 1,600.
okay.
The top of my head math, maybe around 230, 240. But don't hold me to that. I'll have to check a mortgage calculator for sure.
Okay. All right.
Has anybody sat down, and Dad, I'm sure you can help with this too, is have you worked out a budget? Like, here's what I make, here's where I want to keep my payment, here's what my actual expenses look like.
So he keeps a budget for me. I
Okay.
have to, yeah, he does spoil me in that way. I mean, I'm gonna miss that part of it. Were you still gonna keep the budget for me? If I move out?
No,
Okay.
Well, at least it's a budget that gives you a good idea of what to expect, so you're not house poor and you don't want to.
No,
Situation.
no. No.
Okay. So what else would you like to know? Like I said, my goal is for us to just have a general discussion. I won't want you to leave this meeting feeling overwhelmed, but I want you to feel like, oh, I think I have a good idea of what the process will look like. And I think I know which direction I want to go with the realtor I choose.
So we've been interviewing agents and we've been asking them all the same question. So
Okay.
why do you think that you should get our business?
Okay.
Why should it be you?
There's the experience, negotiation. I spent a lot of time outside of working with clients, making sure I'm up on contracts, how everything works, the ins and outs of the market. Because as I mentioned, there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes, and I could sit here for like hours explaining all the details of what we need to know as realtors. I have all that down very well for clients. And I use the analogy of either hiring an attorney or a tattoo artist. It comes down to when you have such an important asset of buying a home, you want to have that protected. And you want the person that would have the most experience and knowledge to help you. You don't want to just pick a random person off the street.
I don't want to be the first tattoo, is what you're saying,
Correct. Or the cheapest.
or the cheapest. Right.
okay, very good. Thanks for your time.
You got, I'm gonna leave this with you. This is just a fun breakdown of everything that I offer to buyers. And there's a checklist here for you to go over as far as what I do for you, and this is your checklist. As far as what you should expect, my history, and then there's a spot back here for you to keep notes when we look at houses.
That's great.
Sounds good.
All right, I'll scan a copy of this and send it over to you, and then if it's okay, when I send properties, will you give me the chance to show you the first one?
We haven't made a decision yet, but we will, will this evening. I'll reach out to you.
Okay, that sounds great.
Very good.
Okay,
All right, thank you.
thank you.
Thanks for your time.
You got it. I gotta leave the house.
I'm comfortable.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, we're officially done.
Yeah,
Good.
okay.
All right, then.
You want me to come out there?
Yeah, is there room here?
We'll make it work.
Slide over.
No, we'll make it work.
Okay.
You said Tatum.
I was just thinking of all the things that I forgot to say that I normally say.
All right.
I was thinking I wasn't gonna get a shot, cause she's like, oh, I like it, I like it. I'm like, man, that's why you gotta be the first realtor.
Well, what we're gonna do is just play them against each other. I think
Oh, good.
we should work with them both.
Mhm, mhm. Like,
6%.
I think both
We'd
of
be
you
a
were,
great team.
I think both of you were great
It's a stupid idea.
and I would, your approaches both made me feel comfortable.
Yeah.
It was very conversational. And I like that.
That's it. Not like a high pressure. Here is this. You must sign. How about now? Right?
I don't think, that's not me, I know it's not, that's not how we are, I think that day and age of that kind of pressure has long gone.
I
And if
did
it's
like
still like that,
Simon's, ask for the order. Give me the opportunity to show you the first home. That was cool.
I usually, and if
Line.
I get the shore, then I'm like, hey, let's have you sign this, and I'll go over it with you. And same with listings, if you kind of get the feeling it's going well, like, let's go over the contract, and I'm not signing anything. Well,
Right.
that's
I'll just bring you the first buyer.
Right, yeah.
Question, do you really do that? What you said you do when the very first house, you pretend write a contract? You
It
do.
goes over really well, because, and it makes it easier on our end because we're covering, like, let's say someone needs to write an offer and it's like 8 o'clock at night, and I don't be on the phone for an hour and a half. I've already gotten all the major stuff out of the way, so we're just kind of like filling in the blanks.
That's a good deal.
So do you bring a blank contract with you and you go, yeah, how long does that take you to do that?
Hour maybe?
Okay,
And if it's like the first time going through, trying to end on a vacant home, do we have time?
nice, okay.
Good deal.
I obviously, I don't do that. It's a great idea.
Yeah, never heard of that.
When, again, one of the things I didn't go over is, people say, well, what happens then once we find the house? You know, then we need to write an offer, you know, and I talk about all the paperwork, but then I say, you know, the offer kind of breaks it down to like maybe these 6 things. And then I go over kind of just those things. And then if we're at a house and they really like it, I said, okay, so let's talk about those 6 things again, like what we want to put in the offer. So I don't take it with me, but like I know in my head, like those 6 things to ask them to put the offer together. But I do stay on the phone with them then for
Right.
an hour, you know, going over all of the things and, you know.
And it helps too if we have like a dad who's like, well, what time are we meeting in the office, 9 PM? And that way, if you've reviewed that, it's.
6:30 AM works for me.
Right, so like everything we cover, we'll just talk about briefly on the phone, and I'll send it for you to sign. No, nothing wrong with meeting in person, I'm all for it, but when time's tight.
Right, and that's a difficult thing to convey.
But I usually sit there on my computer and if it's two of them, like we're all on speaker. And we just literally go over all of the things. You know, usually after the first time we do that, then if that falls through, then the next time they know what it all is, and then we just, okay, this is the offer you wanna make, then, yeah.
Questions from the gallery? Comments?
How do you see mine before? What else did I forget? I forgot so much stuff, didn't I?
I was probably a little bit more critical to you because you were the first one in the door. And a lot of the questions that you answered made it easier on the second guy.
Yeah,
So if you get the opportunity, be the last agent, not the first. I think, because all the process stuff is out of the way. And then you get to focus on the relationship rather than the how-tos.
yeah, that first agent, you're gonna beat up
You're
pretty
you're
bad,
grilling them.
yeah.
Now, what's the percentage of people that work with the first agent they meet or interview? It's exceedingly high. It's like 65%. 65% of buyers only go with, you know, don't interview multiple agents.
But that's because most of them don't set up multiple interviews.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know that I've ever been up against another agent for a buyer before.
They don't start interviewing until after you've shown them 7 homes.
Right, yeah.
And then they go into an open house and like, I really like that.
And then here's another note, always as an agent, please make sure you get that buyer's agency signed, the touring, whatever it is.
In advance. Right? Don't sign it on the same, like in the old days. We used to send that with the contract and just sign everything at once. That's not kosher any longer.
Are you okay with reviewing it right there in front of the house? And having them sign?
Yeah,
Okay.
as long as you,
what I've been doing.
NAR says you need to have that before you cross the threshold.
Right.
That's what I've been saying. I meet them at my car. I'm like, oh, I'm so glad you're here.
Yeah,
Let's sign this so I can open this door.
yeah, that's
Especially
it.
when it's cold.
Yeah.
Sorry, I can't open the lockbox
I haven't either. I
Yeah.
can't open the lockbox.
Until it's-
Signed, yeah.
until this is signed, this is permission slip.
And we are up against that, because I've run into a couple situations lately where I'm talking, they're like, well, that, I've shown houses, they didn't make me sign anything.
Oh, yeah.
It's the first time. I've seen it.
Absolutely.
I was at a showing the same time as another realtor, and I had the non-exclusive, and it was for a repeat client who's an investor, so that's why I used that, and she was like, oh, you're actually getting that thing signed?
Well, yeah, I actually am a full-time agent, so my license is important to me. So I need to have that signed, please. Okay.
Oh,
Well, great job, both of you. I learned. I hope everybody else did.
Yeah.
Some key points.
That was good. I'm gonna beat you the next time we compete. So that was good. Thank you for all those. Anything else, anybody? That was fun. Thanks for the role playing. And I encourage you to do role playing yourselves. Bother your boyfriend, your friend, your spouse, your dog. You should practice getting your lips used to saying the words. That way it's easier when you're in front of a client. So,
Thanks.
There you go.
excellent.
Good job.
Good job, guys.
I would trust you with my peanut.